This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope that you are all well, like Seb and I am. I'm Trishala, and of course, like I said, Seb on camera, and we are coming to you from Djuma Private Game Reserve in the western fringes of the Kruger National Park in South Africa. So we are out on your very own live afternoon safari on this wonderful Sunday. And remember that we are interactive, so use that hashtag Safari Live to communicate any of your questions and comments to us, or of course the YouTube chat stream. Now I am going to be up in the north, at least starting there, and have a look around the Buffelshoek Dam area. And we've got Tristan and Steve out as well, and we're going to be looking for some spotted cats. Now earlier in the day we had one lioness that was around the property, and then she moved west into Simbambili. So that's a bit unfortunate, but it doesn't hurt to check those areas. She might just come back, or there might be other Pride members that are still around. So it doesn't hurt to just check those things out, which is what we're all wanting to do today, and we're going to try and work together to find us some spotted cats especially. It's been a while since I have seen or been with a leopard. When I say a while, a few days is a while for us. I'm sure you guys all know that. So I'm really hoping that we can see some tracks and any other signs of those spotty animals. Well, I hope that Tristan has gotten some good luck. You know that he is the leopard whisperer, so I really do think that we'll get some spots on today. So let's go to him and find out how his search is going.
Well, there's no luck as yet, but we do have tracks for both a male and a female leopard, not together, moving around. Now, the we know is Tingana because we tracked him from pretty much where he was seen at the dam cam. He's busy moving sort of eastwards towards Vulture's Nest, Nyala Road, and then the female track crosses the Muluwati, and that goes more in a northeasterly direction towards Buffelshoek Dam. So we're trying to just head up towards the dam at the moment to try and see if maybe both these leopards have headed up there. It's the closest water, and I don't think Tingana drank, so we're going to try and give it a shot and just see what's happening. Now Jamie's calling me on the radio as well. Go ahead, Jamie. So it's a lot happening, but I should introduce myself as well. My name is Tristan, and on camera I've got Chandra this afternoon. This is a very warm welcome. Now, like I say, I was talking to Jamie as to where we're going to be checking. Jamie, it seems Tingana's crossed east over the Muluwati and is heading towards sort of Vulture's Nest area, and then tracks for this female leopard also cross the Muluwati, and they go more towards Hyena Road, Central Junction. I'm just going to be checking out towards Buffelshoek Dam. I don't know if you want to maybe, in case they turn a bit more south towards Spaghetti Junction, Chillip area. So we're just trying to coordinate where we're all going to be. And so we're going to try and see if we can find one of these leopards, if not both. And then hopefully also try and see if we can find some lions that were seen at the gate this morning by Lauren on her way out. The problem is that we went to Simbambili side, but the guys told me there was only 2 lions on their side. So I wonder if maybe the rest of the pride is not still on our side somewhere. So I think Jamie's going to go and scratch in that area and see if she can get lucky with that. So in the meantime, we're going to try and see if we can find Tingana or whoever this female is. It seems like it was a busy night last night, because apparently was on our side, and we had also crossing south out of during the it's been happening through the. If I can find any. To take you.
Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. Sorry for just losing Tristan there. We are in the middle of nowhere, and signal sometimes can be a problem. My name is Steve. I'm joined by Craig on camera. Welcome to another Sunday afternoon with us live here in Djuma Game Reserve. And, well, we are also looking for some content for this afternoon. Although we're going to focus a little bit more on the western side and then check our western boundary to see if there's any sign potentially of, what was that? Of lions coming in. Because this morning, one of our staff members were on the way out the gate and they actually saw a lioness cross west from Djuma into Simbambile. So who knows? The weather is not that warm, so it is always potential for these large predators to be moving when days are like this. But who knows? There are tracks of leopards all over the place, as Tristan has told you. Tingana was seen on the dam cam. We were out tracking for quite some time this afternoon, and as I went back to get relieved by Jamie, who was coming out, we got a report from some of our lovely viewers that there was a leopard on the dam cam. And I'm not sure if anyone actually saw him, but he disappeared and his tracks are now making Tristan work again. But don't worry, Tristan's got it in him. No doubt he will be able to make head or tail of where the Duke of Djuma is gone. But we are on our western side, and this is a road that I've often had a lot of luck with hukumuri. So just having one little effort. There was a report, I believe, that he did come in this morning, but it's really hard to say without being out myself and seeing the tracks. What is that over there? Jennifer, you want to know, well, you would definitely want to eat. Can you see it there? It's just an impala, Craigie. Jennifer, you want to know if Tingana's eaten anything recently? And Jennifer, I got back from leave the day before yesterday, so I haven't even seen a leopard yet since I've been back. So unfortunately, I can't tell you, but I have no doubt Tingana has been eating constantly, probably off the property. Judging by the number of sightings this week, I'm sure he's eaten many, many times on Djuma. Craig, have you seen Tingana eating this week? I'm sure. He must have been. He doesn't go very long without eating. And that impala's just disappeared. He'll definitely try and snack one of those. But he's been following a female. So we had tracks this morning of a male, or should I say this afternoon when we were out, who was following a female. There was some talk or speculation from Rex and our game scout this morning that potentially was mating leopards by the tracks. We went out and had a look, but too many vehicles by that stage had been driving around, so we didn't really get to see the same sort of evidence that was seen this morning. And we know that Tingana doesn't just follow females for mating, he also follows them to steal their food. Or young males, it doesn't really matter. He'll steal anybody's food. So I have no doubt he has been snacking away. Leopards don't generally go for longer than a couple of days without eating. And it's also the amount of little things that they probably eat that we don't see. The scrub hares, the franklins. We'll just have a look at this little family of impala over here. You guys are in the area of hukumuri. I wonder if they know that. I wonder if they can smell the difference between different leopards, like leopards can or hyenas can. A hyena can most certainly smell a leopard and know exactly who it is by the tracks. And by the obviously the smell. I wonder if an impala can differentiate the difference between a different leopard, or if they just go danger. Alarm bells just go off. That's a very interesting thought. But it's also interesting to see where the impalas are. We're sort of up on the crest now. You can see that by the trees that are around these impala. All the large-leafed bush willows, the bush willow trees all losing their leaves. There's generally not too much food up here this time of year as all the leaves start to fall off. So it's very likely that the impala are probably just moving through this area, through this little fringe, and then heading down towards the right over there where there's probably a little bit more grazing and browsing for them. An impala on the road is looking very interested at something, Craigo. Look at that. That sort of behavior is when impalas are moving, they might see something, and if it starts snorting, then we're definitely going to go and investigate. But while we try to figure out what exactly is going on over here, we're going to send you back up to the north around Buffelshoek Dam with Trishala.
I am doing much of the same, doing some investigation, looking for tracks. Now, I've seen some female leopard tracks and some lion tracks, but they both seem fairly old. So I did not follow up on them. In fact, they looked couple days old. Let's take the next one. So I'm almost at Buffelshoek Dam. So I'm looking forward to seeing what it is actually like, because last few days I've been spending time in the south and in the west. So I haven't been up here to actually get a good look at what the water looks like, and I'm sure you guys have, and it must be quite manky, I would imagine. And I'd love to see how Scuba and Snorkel Sarah are doing. Now, the way that Steve was going about trying to figure out if Hukumuri was around and making use of the animals around him to try and give him an idea of whether he thinks there's a predator around is an excellent way to do it, because if you're out here in the bush and you listen carefully and you watch carefully and even if you smell carefully, all that comes together, and then eventually you find what you're looking for. Okay, so coming up on the dam now, and it is not looking great, I must say. You guys are wondering what is the most difficult animal to actually track. Oh, that's a tough one. Lots of animals are difficult to track because it's really about the skill and about whether you can, it's so much. It's luck, skill, and timing to make sure that you're there at the right place at the right time. So it's a difficult thing. In fact, I'm going to throw that question to Steve or Tristan, because they would have tracked quite a lot of things in terms of what we have tracked so far. We thinking of the big animals, lions, leopards, and all of that. But I'm sure they have had many difficulties tracking some of the smaller things, like porcupine or aardvark. Now we are out here and we have one lapwing. Hello. Now our lovely hippos are not here, and I think that's a given because that water does not look hippo appropriate, I must say. Definitely doesn't look like a love nest. There's another little fellow down there. Ivy, you say that's definitely more than a puddle. I am so inclined to agree with you. It is definitely more than a puddle. Or rather, not more than a puddle. Now, let's get the binos out. See the lapwing. I think I see some three-banded plover. But that's why I need to get the binos out. Yep, there he is. Oh, picking away. Well, I often wonder how the presence or absence of these hippos is going to affect the ecosystem in this little particular area. Now, obviously, for the birds, it doesn't mean too much trouble that they're gone, or that their presence was, or that they were there in the first place. But for things living in the water, it may cause a change now that the hippos are not in there, because hippo dung in water is a fine line. James, you'd like to know if the terrapins would move with the hippos? Well, we get two types of terrapins here. We get the marsh terrapin that is better suited to more stable sort of environments, or stable watering holes, sort of thing, something like this. And then you get the serrated hinge terrapin, who is more acquainted with the ephemeral plants that are around. So I don't think they will move with the hippos. In fact, wherever the hippos go, they're very likely to have terrapins there anyway. So it's just the luck of the draw. Oh, we've got a lovely Birchall starling over here too. Now we're talking about how the hippos will affect the water here at Buffelshoek Dam. Now, the bacteria in the dung can often cause or too much of it can cause the water to become anoxic. That is, there's little to no oxygen, but in the same way it can add nutrients that is from outside of the water into the water. So all these things, so it'd be cool to know exactly how it's changed in terms of water. Anyway, let me send you over to Steve and find out how his tracking is going on.
Thanks, Trish. Well, the search so far has brought us to our southern boundary, where we have decided to show you a wonderful bird, Senegal Lapwing. They're a very, very cool bird. It's quite a common bird here in Djuma, but I'd only seen it before in the Northern Kruger. I hadn't seen it in many other places, so it's not the most common of the lapwings. All the other lapwings, the crowned being probably the most common, share a very similar habitat to this guy. And I was very excited when I came on my interview and I found one of these guys on the open area just by our camp. I got very excited, and well, we pretty much find them every day now. So it's really interesting how territory, or should I say habitat preference, provides space for individuals to sort of be in. And it's probably the case that the crowned lapwings are very aggressive and probably outcompete these guys. So that's why we don't find them as broadly spread as we do the crowned lapwing. But for the most part, very, very similar in all sorts of design. You can see the white belly and the greyish sort of plumage on the wings and the body, but then that very nice sort of front on the forehead there, that white front. There we go. Hello, beautiful. One of the ground nesting birds, these individuals will actually nest just like that, right there on the sand, with the most camouflaged eggs you've ever seen. All of the lapwings have a very similar sort of design, and their eggs are shaped in a way that don't allow them to roll away. Okay, so you're all wondering why this one is not by the water like the blacksmith lapwing that Trishala is seeing. Well, the blacksmith lapwing has a preference of water and along water edges and rivers and dams, whereas the crowned lapwing and the Senegal lapwing occur inland on short grassy areas, just like this one. That's not to say you won't find them near water, but their habitat preference is more for the terrestrial sort of areas, where you have lots of insects moving through. I'll see if I can find a nice picture of their eggs. Sometimes the eggs of these birds are actually in the photographs as well, which is always very nice. And it's quite incredible. Once I found a nest of, actually was a white-fronted, what was it again? Anyway, it was one of the lapwings, I forget now, but it was down by a river, and I found the eggs. And then I went back to get the guests that were with me, and it took me 45 minutes to find them again. Not the guests, that is, the eggs. It's because they look like little stones. They are beautifully camouflaged, and they would just be there in the middle of the open. And of course, my cell phone app is taking a very, very long to try and load, which is always frustrating. But anyway, sometimes that's why books are the way forward. Okay, it's coming now. Let's get into this. The Senegal Lapwing. There we go. Hello, Ian. You want to know how many different types of lapwings in Djuma? Okay, well, that's not the most... Okay, this is actually... I'll see if this works. So, Ian, we've got the Senegal Lapwing, which is this one. I'll show you the distribution. You can see the distribution of it there. Sorry, let me try. There we go. It just sort of goes along Kruger National Park all the way down through Swaziland, down to the northern, eastern parts of the country, whereas the crowned lapwing would probably be most of the country. So let me just zap across to the eggs. I'm sorry that there we go. There it is, lying on an egg underneath it there. That is an egg right under the belly. It is camouflaged as can be. You can't even see it there. Just under the belly, it looks just like the substrate. And if you're walking along, you would be very hard-pressed to spot those. Okay, so Ian, we've got the Senegal lapwing. We've got the crowned lapwing here. We sometimes see the wattled lapwing, and then definitely the blacksmith. Those 4 are quite common in Djuma, but there are a number of other species. If I go to the bird page, which is also what's so nice about this, see, so we've got all of these guys here. The top one on the right, the Senegal, the wattled, the crowned at the bottom. Oh, we don't have the black-winged. I thought that was the... And then there's another one. Oopsie, wrong way. There we go. There's the blacksmith. So the blacksmith is at the top there on the right. And, excuse me, up in the Maasai Mara, I managed to show you this one many, many times on the bottom left. The spur-winged lapwing. We don't find them here in Djuma. They only occur in very they're regarded as a rare vagrant in South Africa. I've seen them as far south as Malawi. Apparently you get them in Zambia as well. And this is the one here, the white-crowned lapwing. That's the one whose eggs are found on the Luvuvu River in the northern Kruger. And they only occur in so many places in the Kruger National Park. Let me show you the distribution of this one. Now, have a look at how sporadic that distribution is. It's very, very limited. It doesn't take up as much space. And that's the Zambezi River right up in the north there, running across the north of Zimbabwe and Botswana. So it's a bird that lives on perennial water sources, which basically means rivers that are flowing all year round. Okay, I hope that is... I haven't seen one of them here. I've seen one in Northern Kruger and on the Olifants River in South Africa, and that's it. Very nice. Okay, so that is a nice little chat about lapwings, and habitat preference is what it's all about. The blacksmith lapwing is around all water sources. The white-fronted, did I say white-fronted? Why am I getting that name confused now? I'm losing my mind. It happens. I can't blame it on the heat today. White-crowned lapwing, perennial, permanent water sources. The Senegal and the crowned, nice, open areas. It's just like kingfishers. Some kingfishers are on the water, some are in the woodland. So it's all about how they've sort of speciated, and often habitats with regards to feeding resources is how these birds differentiate themselves. So when we talk about a bird's sort of living environment, we talk about the fundamental niche, which is all of the available space in the environment that an organism can live without competition. Now, competition can either be from a different species or from the same species. So that competition is very, very important for where you'll find these animals. For example, if you took away all the competition of a bird, you'd find them in a lot more places than they are. But add the competition and then they have to specialize. So then you get what we call the realized niche, which is the actual area in the landscape that an organism sort of occurs in. And that's got to do with feeding preferences, habitat, which includes food, as well as breeding sites. So without breeding sites, and we got one of the coolest birds in the world in the road, Craig. It is the African hoopoe. The habitat preference of the hoopoe is woodland areas where there are cavities for nesting. You won't find these guys in grasslands unless there are some form of trees to sort of hide around and to breed in. And then they need a certain food resource, and they are specialized feeders in their ability to probe. And he's going to go off the road. Of course, often the hoopoe likes to spend a lot of time walking. There we go, he's back, Craig. Walking in the road. And you see that probing beak? Now, they can just pluck insects off the floor. And they're also capable of pulling sort of worms and things out. So Johannesburg itself has got lots of hoopoes, just like it does lots of hardy-dar ibises. And that's because there are enormous lawn gardens with enormous forests. For example, Johannesburg is the largest man-made forest in the world. So the habitat has been altered by human lifestyle. And so there's lots of lawn, and when there's lots of lawn with lots of green grass, you get lots of worms and insects in the lawn, and there's trees everywhere for them to breed in. So that's artificially made, but the hoopoe and the hardy-dar do very well in Johannesburg, and probably a couple other cities in South Africa. Anyway, so these birds will choose preference on how it suits them to survive and to breed. And obviously there are areas that have been manipulated, and certain animals will take advantage over that versus others. For example, house sparrows occur all over South Africa where there are people. There we go. A very short and sweet end to that story. Okay, so as I said before, we are going to go and check our western boundary, see if there's any sign of lions coming back in from the west, because it is TV show night. And while we do that, let's go see how Trishala is getting along.
Oh, well, would you look at that? I wonder if he will stay. Will he go? He went. Always happens. Oh, you're still there, Mr. Drongo. So I found a bird. I actually love to see them because when they fly about in their little bit of insect catching frenzy, it's quite entertaining. Especially since you can't see the insect, so all you see is these acrobat kind of movements, aerial acrobatics, and what is this? I can hear stuff. Oh, impala. Very likely. So he there is just waiting to catch some insects that have emerged from this grass. Now, the grass looks a little bit trampled, and I wonder if that's why he's here. Is something disturbed it? Because what happens when big animals come through an area like this and they disturb the grasses, that's what kicks up all the insects. And you'll find that these insects actually... Sorry guys, I got really distracted because I realized what was happening here. Seb, I'm so sorry to swing you around, but we have some mongoose just playing a little bit on this end, just at the base of the tree. Come guys, I can hear you. Oh, what I was going to say about the insects is the amount of protein that they can offer animals that eat them, including ourselves. In fact, I saw that in Cape Town they now make insect ice cream. High protein ice cream. Hello, you. I could hear so much rustling in the background, and whenever we hear that kind of thing, it's usually always impala that are just walking on by. Emma also says that we now get chocolate-covered crickets. Just the fact that it's got chocolate on it, I may give it a go. Hello, you. Aren't you just too sweet? There's been an influx of dwarf mongoose at camp as well, and even behind our rooms, they seem to be all over the place. In fact, yesterday I had crackers that I had taken out just before drive that I was about to eat, and a hornbill, 2 hornbills, 2 starlings, and about 3 mongoose all sat around me. And then eventually, the hornbill took a chance and he took my cracker. Just one of the things we have to deal with. You know, you just have to deal with it out here in the bush. These guys are very, very sweet. They seem to be scratching around. Oh, just saw some teeth. Scratching around, probably for the same reason that the drongo is right here. Because there's something in the grasses that have been disturbed that are now emerging and that they can get a hand on. They're actually all over the place. No, this is what I love about being in the bush, is that if you sit in one space long enough, things just, you start to see so much happening. Oh man, where'd you go? There's one guy, I'm like swinging Seb from left to right and left to right. Now there's another guy on the tree that the drongo was on. Giving Seb a workout today.
Okay.
Can you see it? Oh, he so sweetly says, it's okay. There's these two. So it really must be some sort of proliferation of some little insect going on here that all these guys are after. And you'll see them foraging together often, birds and mongoose, especially the ones that are after insects. Very cute. Are we doing some grooming? There are so many cars on the property today. I don't know if you can hear this one behind us. That if we don't find a leopard, it is not because we didn't have every single stone unturned. But he's turned off, so I don't need to move, thankfully. Now, these two are grooming themselves just a little bit. Oh no, what about mongoose flavored ice cream? No, I don't think I'd be too keen on that. I must say, I think ice cream is one of my favorite foods, though. Hello, you. You'd enjoy some insect ice cream, wouldn't you? This is their final forage for the evening before they settle back in. And they keep really good hours. They go to bed early and wake up late, which is ideal. And they're very, very curious. It does have very wide eyes. Emma says it looks like it's on a sugar high. Too much ice cream for you. Look at this nose go. Twitch, 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 twitch. Now, I know that you know that lions and leopards have whiskers. Senak, you'd like to know if mongoose allo groom. I have definitely seen them allo grooming. They are doing it very often and quite constantly. You'll see them groom each other, and then the other one grooms each other. And it happens very often. It happens quite a lot in a social group or society. And in fact, hyenas are a bit of an exception to that because they don't groom each other. They'll only really groom their cubs and themselves. But that whole social unit, having that brain that's geared towards living in a social group, means that you have to have allo grooming in order to strengthen your relationships. Little things like apparently pulling against hair and things like that can actually stimulate the hormones that are associated with relationships and building long-term bonds. So it's really, really interesting. That's something so small, but just because of its unit and the way that it's needed to develop in order to be successful as a social animal, has allowed it to do these things. Now, I was telling you about whiskers and how we always really associate whiskers with your cats or your dogs, but whiskers is sort of throughout the animal kingdom, and well, at least with mammals, whiskers is quite a common thing. You get micro whiskers and macro whiskers, and they have sort of different jobs. The macro whiskers are the big ones that you see with your house cat or with our leopards, and then you get little tiny ones, like little hairs around a chimp's mouth, and they help. And I was pointing them out there with the mongoose because they've also got these little micro whiskers. And then when they go around, like it was moving its nose in all those directions, that's called whisking. And it's when they try to check out a new place with those whiskers. It's got a very tactile sensory function. So it gives them information about all the things that are happening around it. And what's really cool is, though it is in a way a modified hair, it's thicker, and it actually originates from a different type of follicle, and that follicle is surrounded by blood. So each little bit of information that goes into that whisker, the whisker picks up, gets amplified by the blood and then sent into the brain. Really cool, I think. Anyway, let me send you over to Tristan and see how that search is going for the spotted cat.
No, just their footprints so far. So we kept following these tracks. We've lost where the male went, which is obviously, like I say, is Tingana's tracks from where he was seen on the dam cam. So we don't know where he's gone, but the female tracks went to Buffelshoek Dam. They drank, and then it seems like she's been going east away from the dam, which is not necessarily good news for us because I'm pretty sure she's going to cross out fairly soon if that's the case. Now, whose tracks are these? Is this her coming out here? No, that's not her. That's a big hyena that was around. So at this stage, it's not really great news because she's heading kind of east right on the northern boundary, and the boundaries are not far away at all. And so what I'm hoping is that she's drank and decided just to lie down. But this cat has walked an absolute mile during the course of today. It's been a fairly coolish day. It hasn't been too hot. And so conditions, I suppose, have been pretty good for walking. And maybe that's why we're seeing so much movement from her today. But I mean, she's walked pretty much from Zoe's road, which is in the western side of Djuma, and she's crossed all the way along to the northeastern corner. Becky, do I think Tundi is in estrus? I'm not sure, to be honest. I haven't spent any time with her. I haven't seen her since I've been back, so it's very difficult to say whether or not she's in estrus or what's actually going on with her, I'm afraid. Unfortunately, because of not spending time with her, you can't see what her behavior is, what she's doing. Is she calling? Is she scent marking? But what I will tell you is that this leopard that we've been tracking, she is scent marked a lot. So she looks like she's been going up against bushes and kind of scenting and then turning and scenting and turning and scenting. And so maybe it is her, and maybe she's coming into an estrus cycle, and that's why she's kind of moving with males and various other things. It's possible. But until we find the cats, it's always very difficult to know exactly what leopard you're tracking. Now, I'm not one of those that kind of picks up the idiosyncrasies of individual leopard tracks. There are some that are far better at those kind of things than what I am. But yes, apparently some people can and do pick up track. Well, have you got something there, Jean-Andre? Male track. These are yesterday's male tracks, I'm afraid. So that's also the other problem is now because it's winter, a lot of the tracks, you can pick them up quite often the next day, and they still look fairly good because you don't have too much rain or anything like that, and because the ground is so powdery, they still stay quite defined, so you've got to just be a bit careful with tracks. But there was a male leopard that walked all the way along here yesterday, which I suppose was Tingana, and then went into Buffels Hook and then turned back and came outside, obviously, during the course of the day. But it astounds me as to how far these leopards can cover, even in the middle of the day. I mean, the tracks that this female on top of this morning's game drive tracks, and so she's walked a long way, but hopefully we'll find her. Essentially where the tracks are is off to our left hand side. There's a drainage line that runs from Buffelshoek Dam, and it seems like she's going east in that drainage line. Now that's an area that Tundi very regularly goes, and so it wouldn't surprise me if it is her. She stored Kalambe in this drainage line for quite a bit in January, February of last year, so it's very possible that she's been there. Now it's also very close to where I had a visual of a leopard yesterday. I still don't even know if it was male or female, to be honest with you. Tracks looked like female, so I expected it to be a female, but it crossed into Buffels Hook very close to where I am right now, on the boundary, so we had a very brief view. Now, it sounds like the guys are saying they've got Impala's alarm calling at quarantine, which is quite interesting. So, we'll have to see. Right, now it sounds like Trish is having all the luck with other animals. We might get a little shift towards quarantine to see what those Impalas are shouting about. In the meantime, though, back across to Trishala.
Yes, exciting and important things seem to be happening at quarantine. There's some alarm calls, so I hope that Tristan will get there and we'll find something exciting. But in the meantime, we do have a lovely male Nyala here, and you can see that his outline is quite jagged at the moment, and that is because he has just been displaying or showing off to another male. There he goes behind the bush. He's just been showing off to another male. So I just saw these two males, just casually. They looked like normal Nyala that were just going to have a snack. But instead they started to move very slowly and in unison, and then the hairs all were erect. And that happens when they want to display to each other and decide who is better than the other one and who is going to get to mate. Now, Nyalas will mate throughout the year, but it sort of does reach a peak in the between January and May, mostly. So this might be the last few guys that are trying to get their genetics pushed ahead this season. Maybe we can catch a last glimpse of him as he walks away. You can get to see the nice crest on his back. He's starting to lower it a little bit now, but when we first saw it, it was quite high. Even the tail was fluffy. DJ, you say you like a good Inyala dance. Oh, there's nothing like a good Inyala dance. At first you don't even know what's happening, and then you look carefully and think, what? You're dancing. You can see he's a nice mature bull. Nice big horns and the white tips at the top as well. Lovely. So I am having some luck finding all the smaller or less shown creatures. Now, piloerection is something that we also do. It's very strange. You'd think that we don't. Some of you guys are wondering if antelopes also have some form of whiskers. That is a really good question. I don't know specifically to antelope, but I do know that most mammals do, and it's easier to count the animals that are... It's easier to count the animals that don't have them than it is to count the animals that do in terms of mammals. So it's very likely that they do. And if you look at their chin and the area around their mouths, you can see those small sort of short hairs. So it wouldn't surprise me if they do also have whiskers per se. Now we also have remnants of days when we used to have whiskers. Yes. Certain people still have little muscular areas in their upper lip where they would have developed whiskers 800,000 years ago, if they existed then. But like I said, even with piloerection, oh, here's another guy. Even with piloerection, it is not just these guys that do it. We do it too. When you get a bit of a fright, or you feel the hairs on the back of your neck rising, or you get cold. Those are forms of piloerection, because by definition, there's a tiny little muscle, tiny, tiny, tiny at the base of each one of those follicles, and it lifts the hair. It contracts to lift the hair, and that's exactly what happens in us when we get cold. Now compare this guy's crest on his back, which is fairly relaxed and flat against his body, compared to the one that we just saw that was displaying to the other male. So that's nice. This must be a nice feeding area for them, because there are 3 of them around. You can see those distinctive over-the-knee socks kind of look. This one has really distinctive white stripes, although one white stripe is really thick and prominent. That's cool. Ian, you'd like to know if animals have goosebumps then? Well, I suppose in actual fact it is goosebumps, because they are trying to do the same thing that we are trying to do. When in a time where we would have been cold and exposed, the piloerection of our hairs on our arms and our legs would have kept us warm and helped us to insulate ourselves, and that's what these animals do when it's cold as well. The difference is they have another use for it, and that is to make themselves appear bigger and stronger when they're displaying to somebody of the same species that they wish to fight with. And I'm sure in our case, when we were way back when we were just developing, probably not even us, but earlier species of Homo would have done the same thing. In a way, if they had thick body hair, which usually was lost pretty recently in the pretty early in the Homo lineage, but the early animals would have had thicker hair, and it would have also acted as making them look bigger and heavier and probably more muscular. We're all connected in very different, weird, strange ways. Via whiskers of abracy and even via piloerection. Courtney, you'd like to know if Nyala have a rutting season like Impala? They don't particularly do. They breed throughout the year, and you'll find that it usually peaks in around January to May. So that's why when I saw the other ones displaying earlier, I thought that it might just be some last guys trying to get in before the season, or before the peak of the season sort of ends. But they don't have a rutting per se in the same way as the Impala do. Very cool. I always think the fluffy tail is very, very cute. He looks like he slightly has picked up his back, the hairs on his back, but I still think that he's fairly relaxed. I feel like he looks a little younger than the guys that were fighting earlier on. I say fighting. They were very, very slowly trying to size each other up. All right, well, while he eats away, I am going to keep on going. I'm now on the eastern boundary, so I'm going to come down a little bit and get back onto the main road. That's the southern boundary, and then come back up into Djuma and go past Twin Dams. Have a look at what's there. Bye, Nyala friend. Nyala are beautiful. They're stunning. They look like little, almost fairy forest kind of creatures. I could imagine them alongside some toadstools. Okay, we are onto the Camera Killer Road again, but luckily it's not too far a drive. It's just a short distance. In the meantime, let me send you over to Steve, who's looking at something on the road.
Well, thank you, Trishala. You're on the east, we are on the west, and there's tracks of 3 lioness that seemingly came from the Djuma side, and this is the western boundary road, and they came into the road and then crossed over onto our left-hand side. So the objective was, because we heard there was a lioness, well, one of our staff members saw one this morning, right here towards the gate, saw one crossing. This road here is quite tricky for tracking because it's the main thoroughfare for most of the lodges in and out. So the only tracks you can see are the ones just on the side of the road that haven't been driven on. So our objective was to come here to see if maybe any of those animals have come back again. And at the moment, they have gone west. So that is worth checking, so we have an idea of where they're going. 1 here and 2 over there, crossing in that direction. Keep going up a little bit, see if there's any joy, and then we're going to have to make another plan for what we're going to do. But at least we've checked our western boundary, and what a wonderful afternoon it is to be out. So we were talking about birds earlier and about habitat preference, and the reason why I wanted to bring that up is that if you ever do now see a bird that kind of looks like something you might have seen before, then go to the page of plovers or kingfishers or whatever it might be, and then bear in mind, where are you? Are you along a river? Is it a permanent river? Is it a pan? Is it a swamp? Is it an open grassland? Is it a forest? And then with that habitat preference in the bird identification, you'll be able to know exactly which species you're looking at. Because once you know what a taraka looks like, you will be able to identify all the tarakas. You might just be like, I don't know who this is, but it looks like a taraka or it looks like a kingfisher. And then once you find the habitat preference, then it's very easy. Very good. So not only do we have to look at the bird's beaks and feet and all of those feet and beak. We need to look at also where you find them, because that is one of the defining characteristics of speciation, of how the birds or animals have occurred where they are, because of the competition between them for food resources, as well as predators sort of keeping them. See, for example, this bird right over here, it is on the ground. It has got a very long horn-like beak, and the beak is red. And, well, challenges are things we need to take on. And yes, of course, birds' feet do often look similar. For example, now, you can't really see this one's legs, but if you look closely, they are quite dark in color. There's nothing really too much to the legs, is there? But the beak, very easy to see that it is red, and it's got a horn-like shape. So if you've never seen this particular bird before, but maybe you've seen others of the family, it is indeed a hornbill. But bear in mind, you get hornbills all over the country. So where are you? If you're in the Kruger National Park, you'll be able to differentiate this from a bird that you might find in Namibia, for example. You get similar birds across in Namibia that look very similar to the red-billed hornbill. I'll actually even show you. But bearing in mind where you are in the country, that obviously makes a very big, a very important characteristic, isn't it? Where are you? And then where are we right now? So right now we look around, it's kind of a mixed woodland here. There's nothing too special about it. And it quite easily then, if it's a special bird, it will only occur in a very specialized sort of place. Now, what I wanted to show you on my phone here, which is going to make it quite tricky if you are new to this, because let's have a look at the hornbill page. We're at the gate. You can probably hear one of the anti-poaching dogs bark in there. Look at all the birds at the top with a red beak. There's one, there's two, there's three, there's four birds actually with red beaks. But now, how are we going to tell the difference between the southern red-billed, the Damara red-billed, the Montero's hornbill? It's very tricky, isn't it? But if I go and I click on the Montero's, which is up here, and our distribution, look at where it occurs there, up in Namibia on the west coast. So it's not that guy, is it? Now, if we click the Damara distribution, there we go. Once again, also up in Namibia. Now, could it be this one, the Bradfields? Let's have a look, because we don't really know our birds. Bradfields occurs all the way up in northern Namibia, northern Botswana, even up into Angola. So no, definitely not him. And then let's have a look at this one. This one's got a red beak. This is the crowned. Now look at that one. Okay, wow, that possibly could be it, couldn't it? Look at the distribution. But if we go more into the bird, and we just have a look at its bird page, and it will tell us tall, closed canopy woodland and forest. Well, we're not really in a tall, closed canopy woodland and forest, are we? There are places in the Kruger National Park where you do find the crowned hornbill. I've only heard them. No, I haven't heard them here. I've heard trumpeter hornbills here. I haven't seen crowned. They need very, very long, tall trees with very, very wet riverine areas. So it is definitely not the crowned hornbill. And if we go to the southern red-billed, let's have a look at the bird page. We obviously already know where he occurs. Look how large his distribution is. So if you were up in Namibia, up over here, you could possibly confuse him with one of those other individuals. But what is nice about these apps is, see, it says there, smaller than the Damara red-faced hornbill, the Damara red-billed hornbill, with a grey streaked face and yellow eye. So if you are up in Namibia and you were confused between those two, then there's a few more things you need to look for. But what do we got here? Habitat, open woodland. And that's where we are, open woodland of the savannah. So quite a common bird for you here. So this very small little blurb here gives you a lot of information about the bird, a lot about their food and where you might find them. And if you keep going further down, there's so much more information. Lauren, you want to know if there's anything different between the yellow and the red-billed. Well, I think the yellows are slightly bigger. Their beaks are a little bit bigger as well, and they do actually share a very, very similar habitat. Also here, wide range of savannas and more closed woodlands. So there's probably a huge overlap between the two. We do find them often in mixed feeding groups. I think the two of them are very, very similar in their design. They also feed on the same sort of foods. So they kind of push each other around, I suppose. I think the yellow-billeds are maybe a little bit more aggressive, but speciation, how they're speciated, it's quite tricky. They're both fitting into a niche because the savanna is quite a broad ecosystem, and they are both specialists. They're able to use their beak for sifting through leaf matter. They're able to switch from insects to fruit to flowers and all that sort of thing. So they're quite a specialized bird, and also they nest in cavities in the trees, which need woodland for that, and that enables them to be quite successful. But a very, very similar bird, but there are some slight differences. But when you see the beak, the one's the flying banana, the other one's the flying chili, so you shouldn't confuse them too easily. Okay, well, our job on the west here is done now for now. We're going to just pop in and see if anything's going on towards Sydney's dam there. But while we do that, let's go back over to Trishala, see if she's having any luck on the eastern side.
I have come across this little darling, and we are at Twin Dams now. So I was very happy to see that there was something happening here, because most of the time, especially when the water is as low as it is at the moment, you don't see much happening here. So look at that, all of that is dry. All of that has the potential to be filled up, and all we have is that little muddy patch on the left. But this hyena is obviously likes to be near the water, but not near enough. Now I'm trying to figure out who this is, and I'm really not sure at this point. Now, I saw a glimpse of the right ear, and it did have a notch taken out of it, so I wondered if it was heart, but I didn't get a very clear look. But I think it may be heart. You can see it's a really distinctive red tuft of hair on the head there. It looks quite punk rocker. She is semi-relaxing. Oh yes, I think that is... What? It's International Redhead Day today? That's what Emma tells me. Emma says it's International Redhead Day, and for those of you who don't know, Emma is a redhead. So happy International Redhead Day to you, Emma, and to you, hyena. I'm sure this is heart. Now, I'm pretty sure it is. Well, oh, Emma's waiting for her present. You just watch, I'll bring you some red hair from a hyena. Emma, you can attach it onto your own. Now, Seb and I were looking at her awkward back legs and how stumpy it looks. But I suppose this is what happens when you just want to relax. It's like when you fall asleep and your arms are underneath your body on your tummy. It's that awkward, I'm so tired and I just need to sleep. She's breathing quite heavily too. But also this kind of stance or position while lying down means that thin vascularized tissue on the underneath of the belly can actually touch the ground and start to cool down the rest of the body. So even though it looks a bit awkward, a bit funny, it's actually very effective. Looks so cool, so peaceful. Alrighty, let me send you over to Tristan and find out how his tracking is going. I might pop into the den in a little bit.
Well, Trish, not very good, I'm afraid. The leopards are playing all kinds of games with us today. There's alarm calls, there's tracks, there's everything, but no sign of the actual individuals. And all three of them, and I say three of them because I think the tracks are for three different individuals, are messing around all over the place, really. And so we're just going to have to be patient. I'm just doing a big loop at the moment because I still think Buffelshoek Dam is going to be a good place to go. The tracks that we had on Yala Road North going to Buffelshoek Dam were just so fresh that they looked like they were going to pop out there somewhere. And so I'm hoping that that's going to be the case. Tingana, I have no idea where he's gone. He's somehow vanished, and there seems to be another leopard moving around somewhere close to camp, which I suppose could be Tingana. It's very, very possible. We know how much he can move around when he wants to as well. So it's been a bit of a frustrating afternoon in many respects, given that we know that they're here. We just haven't been able to lay eyes on them just yet. But it's this time of the day that a leopard starts to really move and starts to kind of go and look for water as the sun is setting. And so it seems like a good time to be out and looking for our spotted kitties. Like I say, I'm going to do a bit of a change and go all the way down to Twin Dams quickly, just have a little look there in case some little leopard has decided to move, and particularly Tingana. You know how much he likes to walk, and sometimes he can sneak off. So we're going to have a quick just scan for him and then back up to Buffelshoek Dam again and see if we can pick up anything. Fiona, we do need a little bit of leopard magic. I find leopard magic comes when you try hard and you're patient and you don't give up hope. And I find that that's when you get it. And so we're going to try our very, very best to just keep positive, and hopefully at some point a leopard's going to pop out somewhere. Between myself and Trish and Jamie's out at the moment helping, and Steve, I feel like we've got an opportunity to maybe find something somewhere along the line here. I think we just got to, like I say, be a little bit patient and really just sort of sit and wait and hope. I'm pretty sure something will come out at some point. It's one of those things, though. If it doesn't, it doesn't. This is how life goes and how wildlife areas are. Often people, sit and will think that because we're in the Sabi Sands, it's a given that you're going to go and see everything that you want to see. That's not always the case. Sometimes it takes a lot of hard work and a bit of patience and not getting frustrated with things, and then actually you can get what you are looking for. And so quiet days do happen out here, and they make you appreciate when it's not quiet. So it's not the worst thing in the world. And we will find what we need. I have no doubt at some point somebody is going to come up with the goods. I'm backing that it's going to be Tingana or Tlalamba that are going to make an appearance tonight. I think Tandi has made quite a few. When was the last time Tandi was seen, actually? That'll be quite interesting to know. I'm sure she wasn't seen that long ago. There's been a few sightings of her of late. And so hopefully she'll be out, I suppose, as well, a little bit later. Wouldn't it be nice if we had all three of them? That would be good. Right, Twin Dams, what have you got for us? It's very quiet, no impalas, which is sometimes a good sign. Don't see anything. 23rd was the last Tandi sighting. What are we today? It's not too long ago, 3 days ago. It's not bad. So she's due an appearance. Wouldn't it be nice if Sibui was here? That would be cool. Last time I saw her was right here. So it'd be nice. Well, not quite right here. About 100 meters to the south of where I am right now. What's that there? That is a hyena that is lying there. That is not a leopard. For a second there I got excited. It's no wonder there is no impalas around. It's like I said, when there's no impalas at Twin Dams at this time of the day, something is lurking. And so on the northern side of the dam, lying down, and it must be the hyena that Trish just saw now. So there we go. And you can see it lying down there. It's typically when, like I say, if you're at one of these dams and you don't find any impalas around or any sort of prey animals, can often be a sign that there is a predator around. And well, hyena is one of those, even though they have this reputation of being thought to be scavengers. We know very differently that they are very much able to hunt. Now, Emma says to me that this hyena looks like she feels. Emma, are you having the Sunday blues? What's going on? Is it because it's Redhead Day that you are upset? Emma's a redhead, by the way. Emma, you mustn't be upset. You must celebrate the fact that you have red hair. Although Emma, it's not really red hair. She's got more kind of... We didn't get you presents, but it's because it's your birthday in a few days' time. Well, not a few days. It's the 15th of June, is it? Emma? 15th of June? Maybe? No? Could be? Don't think so? Not sure. That would be correct. And there we go. See, so I've got brownie points for remembering Emma's birthday. But she says she's disappointed because she wanted 2 presents. 1 today for Redhead Day and 2 for her birthday. But that's just being greedy, because I suppose you also want a present on your Christmas too. And you can't have presents all the time. Well, I suppose it's it could theoretically claim birthday month, in which case people would have to then do so. Right, well, we left our hyena alone because you've discussed it with Trish, and we are on a different kind of mission, and it's the right time for me to be heading towards Buffelshoek Dam now. Now's the time for me to go there and whip a rabbit out the hat. What do you think, Jandre? Right, now the reason Trish left this hyena and why I'm leaving it is because I want to go find a leopard, but she wants to go and find the Hyena Den, and so she's off in that direction, and hopefully she'll have some luck.
I have full faith that Tristan will be able to pull a bunny out of the hat tonight. If not for a leopard, it will definitely be a scrub hare out of that hat of his. But I am heading to the Hyena Den. I'm heading to the exciting den, the first den. Or, okay, I say the first den, it's not. It's about the 5th den or so. But still, it was one of the newer den, or the ones before these 2 that we have now. And the ensuite den, there we go. The den with the splash pool, double-story den. That one, we're going to that one because that's where I saw June's cubs yesterday. So I want to just check maybe they're around, and then if there's nobody there, we'll pay a visit to the other den and see if Ribbon and her 2 are around. I feel like they moved from this den because there were lots of big game that was coming around. There were the buffalo outside, there were elephants around often. I used to remember being at the den and you'll see an elephant walk by and the cubs are out and playing and the parents are around, the mums are around as well, but they didn't seem very concerned, but I suppose it's not the safest thing to have all the big game. You don't want them to be trampling your cubs. Linda, you say we need to have a discussion about how many different dens they are and where they are and when they moved. Well, I can give you my 2 cents. So when we first got here in October last year, it was a den on Aubrey's Road, which is pretty much central-ish, Juma, not far from camp. Then they went to Philemon's Cut Lion Den, which is when we get to the den that we're going to now, we enter through that road. It's also a little more south of central area. Then they moved to this den that we're going to be approaching now. And then from there, they've moved to the 2 dens that we see Ribbon and her cubs in often. Okay, let's use this path here. Oh, it looks so neat here. It's almost as if the hyenas landscaped the area. Doesn't it look very neat? Let's have a look. I thought I saw a pair of ears poking out. Did you see them, Seb? Yeah. Let us have a look. Okay, so we're just going to have a quick glance as we drive through because there aren't any adults around, but June's 2 are here. So as I slowly, we will stop for one moment, just have a look at them, and then we will be off. There these two are. Now they've been hanging out at this den 2 days now that I've seen them here by themselves. So I'm going to assume that this is where June is hanging about. And look at these distinctive spots on the back. Almost as if they've merged into stripes a bit. Okay, Poppet, I think we have to go. We are drawing you out now, and that is no good. I'm sorry, guys. Trust me, I am also sad about it. Bye-bye, Poppets. We'll see you another time when Mum's around. But at least that was nice, because you were with me as I went round to check. You could actually catch a glimpse of them. So that was sweet. All right, let me make my way to the other den and go past Treehouse Dam at the same time and see what's going on there. In the meantime, I'll send you over to Steve so he can tell you a little bit more about what's going on with him. What's going on?
Thanks, Trish. Well, you're back with us, everybody. We found some more lion tracks and a leopard track just after you left us, and they both came back into Djuma. And we went around towards Sydney's Dam area, which is on the north sort of eastern corner, to see if maybe they went out that way. And all we did by doing that was find where the rest of the pride had been moving earlier, but no sign yet of possibly where these individuals could be. We're just heading back towards sort of Vuitela access, taking it very, very slowly, because as I said before, I only saw tracks of 3 lions going over, and then track of 1 coming this way with a leopard. I don't think they were doing it at the same time. And then when we came here, there's at least 6 lions that have headed in this direction, but don't think they've crossed. So we might be lucky right here up in the northern, sort of by the gate, should I say. It's very hard to really give you an exact cardinal point, but just popping out here. Here's our main access in here to Djuma. Just going to go around the corner and see if maybe these lions are just lying up. Remember when just before I went to the Mara, we had the Avoca males with a couple of the Nkuhumas, and they were just here in the thickets. A very tricky place to be, because where we are is right on the sort of tip of Djuma with the other properties, with the gate there, Manyeleti, Buffelshoek. It's just a very interesting sort of triangle up here, in an area that the animals can really cross through very quickly, because it's a very short distance. It's not far at all. So if they just walk across the road, they're there. You could probably throw a stone. Well, somebody could probably throw a stone from that road to that road over there. But I probably couldn't throw a stone that far. How about you, Craig? Maybe a bit further than first anticipated. But let's keep searching, keeping our eyes peeled. Anna, we are... Oh, okay, here is the tracks of the pride that we probably showed you a couple before. You can see there's one. There's probably 2. There's definitely a male there, and then a female over here. So that's 2 individuals. But it's possible that they split up. These are probably 2 of the individuals that we already counted crossing over. But then we had 1 crossing back again. It is also possible that they were playing, because this area here isn't very difficult to cross. They could have gone back and back again. It's very hard to say without physically being here at the time. Well, one thing for sure is they're crossing this way, and that is where we were showing them to you earlier. That is Triple M, the boundary road. So we're just going to scratch around here for a few more minutes, see if we can have any luck as the sun starts to descend in the west. That's the beautiful thing about being out on game drive, is you never know what you could find. You know, this area, sort of our northern section, this sort of area in the northern section here doesn't get as much sort of vehicle traffic as it probably should. and a lot of animals cross here very quickly. A lot of you are wondering about Avoca Updates. Yes, so the Avocas have been around. I haven't seen them since obviously I was here last time, but there was one on last night or yesterday morning was found just south of our boundary, and they've been walking through. But the males have got such large territories that Djuma for them is just a drop in the ocean, and they just have to just walk and whoops, they're on the other side. That is the difficulty. Okay, so here we are once again directly at the gate, and no lions to be seen, but we will slowly drive back down this way, and it's possible that maybe with the setting of the sun, let's check the wind, shall we? Wind direction. It is very gently coming from that side, very gently coming this way. So what that means to me is that lions will always move sort of in the direction of the wind. They'll walk across wind. So if the wind's coming this way, they'll walk that way or that way, and then as soon as they smell something, they'll walk back. So with the wind coming from that direction, the problem will mean they'll go that way. That's probably why they've gone that way. And yes, Emma, it does work. You've got to lick your finger and put it up in the air. And the cold side is this side the wind is coming from. But if you do it while you're driving, it doesn't work. Because obviously the wind from the driving is what's making your finger cold. That's why I stopped the car and switched off, so there were no external influences. Like right now, the wind is coming from that way, because that's the way I'm driving. While this thing over here is called a windscreen. We generate our own wind, especially when we put our foot down. Emma says she's been testing wind wrong the entire time. And the key is also, Emma, is the finger that you lick, you've got to stick up. If you put up another finger, well, it just doesn't work. The best way really to do is with ash in a sock. That gives you a very good indication of wind, or little grass seeds, or scrub hair dung is a very, very good one. Just don't leave them in your pockets and wash them. It's not a very good result. Okay, so the lions are walking down here. You see the tracks crossing the road and then heading into that direction. A sort of general, you can see what I mean while we look on the side of the road, because the middle of the road now, where everybody drives, there's no tracks, but just that little band on the outside where it's nice and soft is where they're walking, and their general direction, you can see, is heading in that direction there and across. But who knows, they could have gone across and laid down just off here. We've had it a little while ago where the Unkuhumas were lying up in a tree right over there next to the road. It was quite a difficult place to be, because when you have lions right here on the boundary, then all of the lodges from this side and that side have access. Oh, in case you weren't sure it was lion, there is a very nice sort of track and sign right over there in the form of lion scat. And people who tell you that lions don't have white in their dung, well, they've never seen lion scat before. The easiest way to tell lion versus hyena is this pinch over here. There's a little twist at the end there where it pinches out, and there's also, well, both of them will have fur in it, but hyenas are more segmented, and they actually, at the end of the scat where it comes out, forms a little shape like a nipple rather than that of a pinch. There we go. At the end of this one over here as well, you can see that little pinch at the end there. It's very characteristic of leopards and lions. So lots and lots of bone in their diet this time of year. Probably ate an entire young impala. That's why it's so white. But very good news. Tristan Dix is on the other end, and after all his hard work, has got a surprise for you.
Indeed, very, very good news. As you can see, we've managed to catch up with the Duke, who has done nothing but play games today, by the looks of things, and had it not been for some baboons and some very good work by Taxon, I don't think we would have found him this evening, because he is right in the middle of a block, which is basically a area surrounded by a road, so a thicket, let's call it that, to basically straight east of the dam. And the baboons were giving him a hard time, particularly a big male baboon that was chasing him. And so he ended up, unfortunately, being chased and pushed on and being sent all the way to the east, which is good. But at least we caught up with him. So very, very good news. Hopefully it's going to behave himself and not go into too many thickets. Where we go from here is not going to be very easy at all. It's very, very, very dense and lots of thickets. Now, you might notice that there's a few flashes and some spotlights, and that's because there is a photographic group that is here at the moment. So I hope that won't put you off too much. But maybe if you suffer from any sort of triggering that causes any sort of problems to your health with flashing lights, and it's probably a good time to look away. But anyway, very pretty genre with the highlighted grass and Tingana that's going to move through it. He looks pretty good though. He looks like he could do with a meal, and he certainly looks like he's on the hunt at the moment. He's moving quickly, he keeps stopping, listening, getting low, and then starting to kind of creep as he goes. So he definitely looking as though he's hunting. Now I'm going to try to keep up with him because I see him trotting off. Now I believe also a lot of you are full of elation and apparently even tears on the chat. Well, I'm not sure we should be crying just yet. Still, the night is early and we have not yet spent 5 minutes with the Duke, and he seems like he's in one of those moods where he wants to put us through our paces and test us, which is going to be tricky because this block is, as James Hendry would say, not for ants. That's James Hendry saying, "What are you watching, Tingana?" He's stalking an impala. I'll just go back for you, Jean-Andre. So if you look, it's not going to be very good. I can just see the back of an impala just to the right of where he is. So he's there, and you can see his attitude. He's got his head down and his ears kind of cocked. Now to the front right of him, it's going to be very tricky to see it, but you see there's some bushes way in the distance there. The impala just went behind that front sort of bush on the top right of your screen is where now as well. So that's basically what he's after at the moment. So that's what he's stalking. We're going to sit now and we're going to be very, very, very quiet, and we're not going to make too much noise. We're going to try to keep our lights off him as much as possible. The vehicle next to us is going to do the same as he tries to now close the gap between the impala and himself. Now you can see how this movement works. It's incredible watching a leopard when they do this. They get nice and low and their ears face forward, and they rely heavily on that spotted camouflage that they've got. You can see the impala is completely oblivious to his presence at this stage. There's the impala that I first saw that's slowly moving off, and it is this time of the year that the impalas are rutting. And so rutting, oh no, he's going to get seen if he keeps moving. He hasn't watched that impala on the left looks as though it's seen him. You see that? It knows something is there, but it's not sure what just yet. I wouldn't be surprised it starts to alarm call pretty shortly. Tingy, keep your head down. Isn't that a ridiculously good shot? Well done, Jandre. Very, very nice to have the two kind of facing off from one another. But that impala knows that there's something not right ahead of it, and Tingy was a bit casual in the way that he was walking. Even when that impala put up its head while it was feeding, it's not a problem. But as soon as they pop their head up, well, you need to kind of have a little bit more circumspect movements, I would say, is probably the best way to put it, and to try and kind of keep his head down as much as possible. Now, I just want to see if, there we go. You see that impala's seen him. You hear it alarm calling. So, unfortunately for him, there we go. He's got no chance, I'm afraid. That impala has seen him, and although the impala's kind of not run off, and it's just kind of meandering off, it could give Tingana another crack at it, but the fact that it was an alarm calling is generally indicative of that it's actually seen him. And it is a very sassy impala, you're right, Emma. There's a bit of swag to that impala. It kind of shouts at Tingana and is like, well, I'm just going to stroll off. I don't care what you think about life. So interesting to kind of see. He's still kind of got his head down, because maybe the impala might not have actually seen him properly. Might just have smelt him, or thought maybe that he's there, and given a few alarm calls. And the fact that the others haven't alarm called means that maybe Tingana's still in with the shout when it comes to hunting. So if he's patient and just sits very, very quietly, maybe these impalas will start to relax and he can have another go and move and try and re-figure out where he is. So, safari house, maybe they were having a blinking competition. Well, looked like it, didn't it? The two of them kind of just staring at each other at one point. And maybe that is exactly what has happened. I fear, though, that Tingana has lost the competition, given that he unfortunately twitched, and that meant he got shouted at. Maybe that's a disqualifier if you twitch your ear. There's still another impala that's there straight ahead of him. You can see just walking around through there. So maybe if he just waits for it to get a little bit darker, it's still obviously quite bright. The sun has set, but there's residual light. And if he waits a little bit in the cover of darkness, he might have a better shot at actually hunting these guys and being able to kind of go after them. What's been very interesting is that this block that he's in at the moment, this area that he's in, should I say, is a space where he spends quite a lot of time when he's hunting, and he often goes to all the little burrows that are in here. I was saying earlier that it's got a lot of aardvark holes in this area, which means there's a lot of warthogs, a lot of aardvark, and so he spends huge amounts of time sitting at those holes. So in the last sort of few weeks before I went on leave, I think I had about 4 sightings of Tingana in this very area, and every single one of them would start at this time of the day, and he would kind of go in, and then he would start to hunt, and he would find a little hole, and then he'd sit at that hole, and he'd just patiently stare down it and wait until something was hopefully going to come out. And so maybe he'll abandon these impalas and move kind of southwards. Now, our afternoon or evening is changing rather rapidly. We've got some luck. It sounds like Steve has also had some luck, and he's found a tawny-coloured cat.
Well, there we go, everybody. That's what happens. I told you we counted 3 crossing the road, and now we've come further south, and now 2 more of the probably 6 tracks that we saw have decided to get up from wherever they've been slumbering here in the grasses, and unfortunately, though, they are deciding to also cross the road. Now, they seem to be 2 of the youngsters of the Nkuhuma pride, but I'm not certain. There's not too many characteristic features on them, but there we go. You see how now the tracks are going to be in the middle of the road as well as on the edge there, and quite fresh, and would easily be, here comes the 3rd one on our left hand side. So definitely counted 6 tracks, and here comes number 6. So they'd probably split up somewhere in the block there. And they've actually been on the property all day. Now, it just goes to show how difficult it is sometimes to find animals. There we go. Why did the lioness cross the road, everybody? Because the wind was blowing from that side. Sorry about that. It's another youngster. Janet, it is how it works. Oh my, lions and leopards. Suddenly they just come out of the woodwork. But everybody, alas, 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 that is Simbambili on the other side of the road. And they are probably going to go and join the rest of the pride. So at least our luck has paid off. We've been determined to check this western boundary. Determined to move up and down. And suddenly out of nowhere, my heart skipped a beat as I suddenly saw that beautiful golden tawny colour. Craig had his head down and hadn't seen. I was like, it never gets old seeing a lion or a leopard. Suddenly, well, you've been looking for them for hours, and there they are, like that. Well, everybody, that was very cool. That's the highlight of my afternoon. I hope you all enjoyed that very brief sighting of the lions, but that's the way it works. Thank you, lioness. Go off and enjoy your evening. Please come back again, but you can see how we were talking about the wind back there, and they've gone in that direction. So I know there are some of you out there that disagree with me, so there's been theses proving things. I just go by what I've seen and observed in my life, and I always see lions and leopards using the wind to their advantage, always. So if you disagree, let's agree to disagree. But once again, they have gone in the exact direction that the wind is kind of coming from, if not at a slight angle to it, in search of some food. They were looking a little bit hungry. I wonder if any of you were able to get any identification features off of them. They were definitely 3 young lioness, very likely of the Nkuhuma pride, but then I have been away. All sorts of dynamic shifts are going on at the moment. Like up in the Mara, it's very hard to identify lions up there because they move. Okay, well, we're going to maybe give it another moment here. Maybe they're going to turn around and come back this way. But while we do that, let's go and see how Trishala's getting on looking for the rest of the Djuma clan.
Well done, Steve. I think that's awesome. I really did have a hope that we would see those lions, even though we knew that the one had crossed earlier. And I was really hoping that it didn't mean that we wouldn't see them for the whole day. So I am quite glad. Now I am approaching the Hyena Den. Other den. I don't want to get too close to the entrance. Sometimes they lie right there and I don't want to scare them. So let's go around this way. So this is nice. You've been with me both times that I've approached the den, so you get to see what I see when I get you. And what? Oh, we have a little one. We have a little one with no mum around yet again. So quick glance for you all with a pink light. Yes, hello? Yes, it's all about the drive-by cuteness this afternoon because we need to go now again. Sorry, Poppet. Now, Ribbons, you'll drive and speak. Oh, no. What are you getting so excited about? Okay, let's check around the other side of the den to see maybe there'll be mum around. If not, then we'll go. It's a lovely pink light, though, don't you think? Now, Ribbon's been really interesting lately because we've only seen the one cub so far in the last 2 days because I had her yesterday but suckling only the one cub, and then this morning Jamie said the same thing, only one cub. Oh, we are lucky. I think I have found an adult. So I'm going to stick around here. In the meantime, let me send you over to Tristan and Tingana, the terrible tease.
Well, I hope for Trisha's sake that she found an adult. It's a pity that Steve, unfortunately, had the lines crossing over and that they weren't coming our way. Anyway, we're still with Tingana, and apparently Trisha saying the terrible tease. Well, I don't know if we're the terrible tease. I feel like we do well together, Tingana and myself. I feel like we have a good relationship and have had some good sightings where he's been a terrible terror today, is what I'm going to call him, with the way that he's walked. He's been a handful to try and kind of keep up with. And so, not been the easiest to track down this afternoon, but luckily we've at least managed to catch up. The problem is that he's heading straight north now, which means that he's heading towards Buffelshoek boundary. Surprise, surprise. Always when you've got some sort of a TV show or something like that you need to do, these cats will head as close to the boundaries as possible and test your kind of nerve as much as they can. And so I wouldn't be surprised that he's going to go all the way, and then he'll get towards the boundary. Then he's going to find an odd foghole and sit at it and not move the entire hour that we do our TV show. So it should be an interesting little bit, but we'll see how it goes. These guys are just going to be very patient and very kind to us and let us come through, which is very, very nice. Where's Tingana gone, though? That's the next question. He seems to have moved off in front there. It's going to become very tricky where we're going as well. It becomes a lot thicker as we move, which is not ideal. Now, while we try and catch up with Tingana the Terrible, which I think is a great Viking name for Tingana, let's send you across to Trishala, who's managed to catch up with one of the adult hyenas.
Tingana the Terrible and Tristan the Tyrant. What do you think? Neither of them are that bad at all, I promise. It's more like Tristan the Treasure. Hope I get a gold star for that. Well, we are sticking around because Ribbon is right at the base of the den. There she is. Hey, Ribs. She's been really tired these last few days. I've just seen her lying about. But she is still quite attuned to what her cubs need because she's always around. And yesterday when she was about to leave her cubs and actually walk off with Corky, the little cub started to whoop in the cutest little tiny whoop I've ever heard. High-pitched. Oh, it was unbelievable. I've only ever heard it, I think once Davy and I had a similar type of thing, but it was just brief. This was so close and full on whooping, but in the squeaky, squeaky little cub voice. And Ribbon came bounding back, straight to her cub. Now, like I said, we haven't seen the second cub in a couple days. And after they were playing rough and tough about 2 or 3 days ago, I think it was 2 days ago, they were playing quite rough and tough, and that was the last time I saw them. Oh, are you going to jump? Jump for us. Oh, look at teddy bear. Oh, what are you trying to grab? You're trying to grab some leaves. It's a raisin bush that he's trying to get at. And they do have little, well, raisins or little berries, but I really don't think that that's what this cub is going for. You're going for leaves. You're practicing your pulling down kills move. So curious. Now this cub is the darker one of Ribbons, and I think it's actually the smaller one, even though it seems to dominate over the other cub, but it's actually smaller. But you can tell by its behavior that it's the dominant one, just the way it interacts with the other cub. Oh, that stick is a bit big. Yeah, that's a big stick. But you give it a good sizing up. Yes, they are. Emma says they are on a destructive mission this evening. I think it's every evening, Emma. It's just a matter of what's in their path of destruction tonight. Can you imagine if you were going to be destroyed by this cute thing walking towards you? You'd never move. In fact, it's the best strategy ever. They're growing up so wonderfully. Oh, no! Oh, Poppet, what happened? You can see he was stretching, couldn't get the part, and then boom. I love the reaction after, like, what? That was part of my plan. Oh, you keep on going like that, it's going to happen again. This is what's getting this cub into trouble. It's stretching all the way around, losing its balance and tumbling down. Mrs. Lapwing, you say that these guys are just trouble. They are definitely trouble, and like all good troublesome kids, they are too cute. That's the problem with them. That's how they get troublesome, because their cuteness just overrides any sort of trouble they can cause. Well done, you found a better position in order to scratch your leg, where you won't tumble down. It's almost like I'm waiting for the next little bit of amusement that he's going to give us. Actually, I think I don't know exactly the sex of the cubs yet, or we don't know yet, but I think that they are both female. but I'm not sure. In fact, if you've got great pseudo-penis screenshots, I'd love to see them. They often move around quite a bit, and it's difficult to see. But I mean, even researchers have it tough sometimes to figure out the sexes of these. Oh, well, there's some more hyenas joining. So while we figure out who's come to join, let's go over to Tristan and Tingana, the terrible tease, again.
Well, Tingana finally has just decided to stop because he's been on a serious mission and he's been kind of striding along, and well, I think we're going to be going again. It almost looks like he spotted something, and now he's starting to just settle down a little bit, and maybe he's going to kind of put his bottom and have a bit of a sort of rest. The problem is where he is in amongst a whole minefield of aardvark holes, and so I'm a bit hesitant to move too far. Let's try just get into a slightly better position here, Jandre. Let's sort of be mindful of others as well that are in the sighting, but we're going to try our very best just to see if I can get Jandre around. It's a little bit tight though, unfortunately, because of the stump that we have here. Jandre, I'm afraid this is the best that I can do for now. We'll try and figure out something just now. If the stump wasn't here, it would be fine. We could get around this little bush and get a much better view of it. But unfortunately, I've got two massive stumps where I am at the moment, and that's making life a little bit tricky. But I was saying to you earlier that he often likes to come in here because of all of these aardvark holes, and it seems as though he's doing the exact same thing that he always likes to do, which is basically he's walked into a sort of whole bunch of holes in the ground, and has now just sat and is listening and looking. And I wonder if maybe sometimes he hears something and that's why he'll stop and look and listen for a long period of time. But it certainly helps us because the way that he was moving and the rate that he was moving, he was going to move out of Djuma within the next 10 minutes. So I'm quite glad that he's decided to stop and to kind of find himself a bit of a better spot to sit. Jandre? I don't really have many options here, I'm afraid. We're in amongst the real thickets at the moment, and so we're going to have an obscured view of Tingana. Now, the guys that are with me, they said that they've shone ahead, and so he's not watching impalas or daiko or anything like that. It seems as though whatever he's watching is quite close to him, inside maybe one of these little holes, like I say. And often he'll just sit and listen, and we know that he can be incredibly patient. There was a few weeks ago where we followed him here through the night, and we ended up leaving him sitting on the edge of one of these holes. And the next morning, I came with Ian, who is one of our freelance guides, and he was still sitting at the exact same hole, still watching and listening and looking. And so it can be that they can be incredibly patient when they want to be, but he's going to move off through there. I think let's try and get through this horrible mess. Jandre, get rid of that so we don't blind the people on my right-hand side, and try and see if I can figure out how to get through here. In the meantime, though, let's send you back across to Trish with her silly, very playful little cub.
My hyenas are being very, very silly. Now, I can't tell, but I thought this was hot. Just now when I saw the right ear. Looks a little like her. And the other adult that is around somewhere is pretty. But she is on the other side, or just behind this bush at the moment. Now this little cub is so energetic. It's been bounding about, greeting everybody. Being very enthusiastic about, and very, very skittish today. A bit on edge, too much coffee. It's so cute how when they see all the adults come, they want to be part of all the excitement as well. I'm just gonna move a little bit forward so we can. I'm gonna roll actually. Hopefully, let's see if we can roll. Can we roll? No, we can't. Okay. Okay. No, they're coming back. They're coming back this way. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for. That little notch on the right ear. Deborah, you say cuteness, cuteness all around. I think that's perfect description. In fact, I think if you say that 3 times in front of the mirror, you yourself will appear to be a cute hyena. Cuteness, cuteness, cuteness. Okay, so we've got a pretty and a heart around here. Hello, you are right by me. Okay. Just duck my head down. Right over the bonnet there. Oh, you are looking quite fat. Oh, your tummy is. Consulting detective, you would like to know if this is the male cub. To be honest, consulting detective, I think in fact with a name like that you should tell me. But I'm really not sure. When having looked at them, I thought that they were both females. But it is difficult to tell. In fact, Jamie is the best person to sex them, but I did think that they were both females from Ribbon's cubs. I don't know if that feels good or hurts. With teeth in your mouth, yes, you are a very strange species, but that is why you are so successful, isn't it? Because you are weirder than the rest, and that's why we love you. So when the adults are sort of doing their thing, these cubs almost want to do the same. They want to just kind of be involved. I remember when you were little or when I was little, and we just sort of, whatever the adults were doing, you wanted to be part of it too, and you wanted to be involved just like them, and these cubs are much the same. Oh, we've got some anal pasting going on there. And then I bet this cub is going to come along and paste there too. Butterfly, you'd like to know why they're called cubs and not pups? Butterfly, I really don't know what the distinction is. I would think that it must have something to do with the number in a litter, I would think. I really don't know. Because seals have pups. Dogs have pups. Mongoose have pups. I really don't know what the... I really don't know what the distinction is. In fact, let me know if you know. And I can go and ask somebody else and quiz them too. There's a lot going on. Everyone's come back to the den. There's lots of squeaking and nervous laughing, a little bit giggling, anal pasting. It is just a party. This little cub is, I'm telling you, it's drank a lot of coffee today because it is very hyperactive. It reminds me of a little Jack Russell when it goes crazy and starts running around in circles. Still watching everybody. What are they doing? Can I join? But I'm a little bit scared. What is this little flinch of the pseudopenis as well? I suppose it's a bit of a motor reaction, I guess. All right, where have you gone, adult? So you're still there. Everything's just calmed down a little bit. But they have been anal pasting about. It's only a matter of time till the cub comes round and starts anal pasting too. So let me send you over to Steve. At least I think it was Steve. I'm sure it was Steve. Send you over to him. If you end up with Tristan, I'm sorry.
It is always so funny watching little hyenas behave like that when the adults emerge. Just the joy and excitement of getting involved, and then all the anal pasting that goes with it. Sounds like a typical Friday night. Sorry, that was me being cheeky. Anyway, we are just bumbling around. The darkness has descended. You probably notice we're in infrared. Spotlights out, lights are ablaze, and we're going to see what we can find. This is a great time of evening to just come across a predator. I think last night was about this sort of time that Tristan just bumped into Tlalamba, who just materialized. It might have been a little bit earlier, but that's what we're hoping for now. We had tracks of a male leopard and a female leopard in here. We had tracks of a female leopard on this side. So there was all sorts of tracking going on today. But as I said before, it's quite tricky sometimes if you lose the tracks because of maybe some vehicle movement on the roads. And then you just got to move into that area, work that area at night. And then, as what we've seen many times in the past, those animals just pop out. Obviously, the dam cam is quite helpful in that regard. And so are the baboons and all the others that are alarm calling around the dam that helped the others to find the Duke of Djuma. So we're going to just continue on down here. We're going to head back down and maybe just go see if anything's going on around the watering hole of the name Treehouse. Because you never know, there could be something hanging around there. Okay, well, before all the noise dies down, let's go back over to the Hyena Den where all the action is happening.
All the noise has died down, so the adults have just left. I just want to take a quick drive around the den so we can look if they are just hiding around like Ribbon was earlier, or whether they are actually gone. Now this little one whooped that cute, very high-pitched whoop for us. Of course, as soon as you cut away, that is exactly when it will happen. But the last time it did that, the adults came running back, so I'm just wondering. Okay, let's go around this way. Oh, yes, here you are. Hello. Hello, Ribbon. Alrighty, let's turn around then. Or let's go around again. Do you know how many times I've played Ring Around the Hyena Den? Plenty of times. Now, that's why I say Ribbon is such a great mum, because she reacts so quickly when her cub calls for her. Hey, girly girl. Okay, there are two adults here. I don't want to... You see, sometimes when you drive really close to them, there's these two. Some of you new viewers are wondering why it's important to be at the den or to not leave the den when there aren't any adults around. I'm just going to move as I answer your question. Well, that's because the cubs are still quite vulnerable and they will run straight into the hole of the den or the entrance of the den when something threatens them or they feel scared. But we don't want to be the reason for that happening, because cubs are really, really curious, and they will often come up to the car to the point they will come up to my feet, and they behave in that comfortable way. And if there's an adult that's not around, they may do that, come out and be attacked by something, and we really, really don't want that for obvious reasons. So that's why we try to keep our presence here only when there are adults around. You see, as a natural defense, cubs enter into their den. But when they're curious about us, they sometimes forget about that. Alrighty. And we're back where we were. Who do we have here? Let's go forward a little bit. No, I was trying to get your face. Back a little bit. Okay, no, you move for me. Okay, fine, you move for me. No, don't walk off. No, you see, they're going to make me do this, and I'm going to have to go ring around this hyena den until I find an adult, and I bet you they will be there. They're just trying to make a... Oh, okay, there's still somebody here. Yay. He's just on my other side. I think it's Ribbon, because Ribbon was around when the cub called. Hello. Oh, you are suddenly very dirty, or very full of grass bits. Your nose is still quite wet. At least it's not dripping. Oh, she looks like she's gonna fall asleep so soon. Oh, no, I'm not. I promise. I'm looking after my child. No, you're not. So she has spent most of her days in this exact position. Oh, hyena. Steve has found a hyena. The hyena did not find Steve. So let's go over to him and see who he's got there.
We have found something in the darkness. Indeed we have. And it is a hyena that was walking directly away from the Djuma Den, where Trish is currently, and has come to drink at Treehouse Dam. So our anticipation for trying to find something by the watering hole has paid off, because that is what animals need to do. They need to drink. It is part and parcel of being a mammal, and many other animals need to drink, of course, but we are dependent on water for our survival. And how incredible is it, having a look at the thermal imaging and the drinking hyena. Very thirsty. I'm trying to get an identification of this individual, and I need to just go through my my screenshots. She had a nick in the top left ear, but I haven't quite yet. I have been out of town, so my my memory of all of them is a little bit wanting. So I have to go through the screenshots that I took just to double check. I can tell you for sure it's not Ribbon, because because Trish is sitting with Ribbon. I think it might have been Pretty, but I'm not sure. She's got a nick in the top left ear. I think that is Pretty. And you've got a very large belly. Definitely Pretty. I know that now. It comes back to me. Corky's got the nick in the left ear as well as the little earring. And then Pretty has got just the nick in the top of the ear. Tim, the reflections are very interesting, and I find it quite strange why there's a reflection. So the camera is a thermal camera. Now, how is it picking up an image? That can't be a heat-reflected image. I don't know. It's way beyond my scientific mind to figure out. But look at that bulging belly. Look how full it is, how warm it is. And in the infrared, you can barely even see her. So it just goes to show how valuable the tools that we have here are with the FLIR. Now all you can basically see in the infrared is a bit of an eye. And so that is Pretty coming down to drink. Hello, Pretty. I haven't seen you in some time. Isn't she special? Now, she walked right past the car with us before, but we're a little bit far off for the infrared now. So she's probably going to go off, and who knows? Where's she gone? She's gone. Just like that. Just like that. Oh, no, she's right there. She's in the same place. There she is. In the same place she was before, just on the other side of the watering hole. Well, everybody, I hope you've had a wonderful afternoon with us. It's been really nice being out. Lots of interesting information. I hope you have a fantastic evening. We will see you again tomorrow morning. Thanks to everybody involved, and we will have a beautiful TV show coming up soon. You have a beautiful night further. Good night. Thank you, and goodbye.